Welcome to SCV Chat. It's 7 o'clock on a Monday afternoon, so you know what time it is. It's time for your weekly episode of SCV Chat, and after almost 100 episodes, you'd think I'd have the intro down pat, but I don't. Before we get started, please remember, views and opinions expressed on this broadcast, not necessarily the views and opinions of the SCV, its GEC, nor divisions, brigade, camps, or any of the subsidiaries. Before I get the question, my Wi-Fi at my house is out for the evening, hence why I'm in my vehicle. I am bumming Wi-Fi off somebody else. So before those questions get thrown out there, we're just going to go ahead and get that done with so our executive director can have the rest of the show without getting that question. Speaking of which, our guest tonight, Adam Southern. How have you been doing, brother?
I've been doing well. How about you?
Good before I woke up this morning.
Well, I hear you. But the legend Paul Gremlin says you woke up this side of the grass, so you're doing all right.
Very true, very true. Good to see Michael C. Hardy in the chat. The legend, Carl Jones, Dr. Samuel Mitchum, Army of Tennessee Commander Jimmy Hill, Mr. Sean McFall of Look Around Southwest Florida, Mr. Elliott, Mr. Pope. Good to see everybody. We'll see how long this parking lot holds out. We got a good show for y'all regardless, though. We got great museum update. For some reason, I know that you were on last month, but I think I was gone on a trip. So it feels like it's been forever since you've been on and given a museum update for me for some reason.
Yeah, it does. It seems like it's been a while, but of course it has been a while since I've seen you. Reunion in Cartersville, so glad to see you back in Mississippi.
We were extremely busy that reunion.
Yes, we were. It was very productive reunion. We got a lot done, and I'm looking forward to our next GEC meetings coming up in just a month, October 1st.
Wow. I can't believe it's already here.
Yeah, it'll be here before we know it. And, it's a good opportunity for you to come. If you want to know what's going on at a GEC meeting, you've never been to one, come to Elm Springs on October 1st. They usually start about 8:30 or 9 in the morning. I prefer 9 o'clock meetings if the commander is listening tonight. But come to Elm Springs. We'll be there all Saturday, so that'll be a good excuse for anybody that can't get there during the week. You can come and see the museum that Saturday. So we'll be there October 1st. And come see our museum, and we'll give you some updates tonight about some things that we're doing at the museum whenever you're ready.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the museum's ever changing. That's one of the great things that's happening there right now. I'm sure our executive director will talk about that in a minute. Someone asked me if I could explain STARS real quick. STARS is basically a Facebook's way of showing support. Yeah, most of you probably won't remember this, but when we were on that other platform, you could send what's called bits. On Facebook, it's called STARS. There's really no difference. It's just another way you can support the chat. And before we get started, please remember to share this episode out to all your friends and family. And, of course, you're sharing it to any other SCV pages, Confederate, pro-Confederate pages. Dig nabbit. Mr. Ron just said I look better off the borrowed Wi-Fi than my actual Wi-Fi. I don't know if that's a good thing. I wish I was coming in blurry so y'all wouldn't have to stare at the back of my truck the rest of the night. But here we are. But yeah, if that's a quick explanation of STARS. Me and GCB have been talking about actually sitting down and posting something for all you chat heads to understand STARS a bit better. And that's kind of the quick answer, so we don't take up too much of the legendary executive director's time. He's got a good bit he wants to cover with y'all. I'm looking forward to it. Before we begin, we'll go ahead and do one of our sponsors, and we'll do the other one after the commercial break, or before the commercial break. Let's see here. Let's see if we have our sponsor loaded in. I bet GCB didn't do that. Yes, I'm going to put all the blame on him. Let's see here. All right. So this week's Moose Fact, sponsored by 1175 Firearms Training, is that mooses get very ill when their Wi-Fi does not work. That is going to be this week's Moose Fact, brought to you by, of course, 1175 Firearms Training. So go check them out. Thank you to Carl Jones for paying that 75 cents worth of promotion. I guess I should have been more clear with GCB when I agreed to start doing promotions. But here we are. So without further ado, no, this is not a Dodge truck. It is a Tacoma. It helps me get around and do farm work. But without further ado, now that we got the promotion out of the way, I will lead it over to Adam Southern.
What happened to the Challenger? Did you get rid of it?
I got rid of it almost a year ago. I got this truck about a year ago, yeah.
Really? I didn't know.
Well, people always looked at me and was like, "Good studio." Thank you. It costs a lot of money, I can tell you that much. Yeah. God will forgive you for the Tacoma. Thank you, David. I knew I was going to get roasted on that. Someone said it's better than your aunt's bed. Thank you. I knew those were coming. This is going to be a great night. But Sandra, I will. If you remind me, if you could message the chat page, I will post an explanation on the stars on the Facebook page after the show. But when I got the Challenger, it was because I was 18 and my father told me I could pick any vehicle I want to go to college in. And so I was like, I'll pick the Challenger. And so I got the Dodge Challenger, and I enjoyed it. I loved the sports car life. I enjoyed it. I went on many dates in the Challenger. Had a great time in the Challenger. But when I realized that when I got my dog Allie, and I realized that I was going to go into education, teaching, I'll be closer to the farm. I want to help out with my family farm, continue to work on my family farm, take over parts of my family farm. So when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about the fact that when I'm home, not during the school year, the Challenger just basically sits in the front of my house if I'm doing farm work. It just sits there. It sit there for 2 or 3 days, and I'm not even cranking it. And so it didn't serve a purpose. And not only that, but I had a dog sitting in this very nice Challenger. And I would go places and people would be like, "You don't have a seat cover or anything." I'm like, "No, I got this towel that she chewed up." But she chewed it up very quickly. And so I just had a dog in the middle of a Challenger, and she would be shedding everywhere. She'd pee. And I'm kind of sitting here and I'm like, that just don't make sense. And so finally, my father, after years of trying to talk me into getting a truck, finally convinced me to get a truck. And I got this Tacoma that I call the Gray Ghost. And that is how I ended up with that. How did we get on the subject? I do not know.
It was my fault. Sorry.
No, it wasn't. We'll blame Cousin Vinny.
Yeah, that's Cousin Vinny's fault.
Yeah, it's Cousin Vinny. Yes, I am doing this in the car. I'm in my truck. This is going to be a long night. We don't want to hear about your dates. Us older guys can't take it. I'm sorry, Mr. Kennedy. You have a strict no pet, no food rule in your vehicle, Vinny. You would not be able to drive me around because my dog goes basically everywhere with me. I almost brought her tonight if I knew she wouldn't lick my computer. Don's like, don't take that, Cousin Vinny. Fight back. All right, well, before I get any more off topic,
I love the fact, though, that you traded dates for the dog.
Considering how those dates went and my dog is still around, I think it was a very worthwhile trade.
True enough.
I get more country women with the truck. I'll put it like that. And those are my type of women. So instead of getting these Yankee women, Yeah, I'd be getting
Those are
these
the ones.
Yankee women. Now I get country women. So I think it's a good plus. And I got a dog, and I really like dogs. So I think it's a win-win for me.
Yeah, there you go. And you gotta test that cooking before you marry them, though.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right.
And this conversation is brought to you by every SCV chat episode ever. Uh,
Right.
this is part of the course, really. But we got some great pictures for you, everybody tonight. Please remember to share, and that we are on YouTube and TikTok now. Sooner or later, I'll start posting on TikTok again. Who knows? But again, Adam has got a great show for y'all tonight. So without further ado, I'll let him take it over.
Okay. Well, sounds good. You can also find me on Facebook and TikTok. I think I'm on TikTok under at Mayor of Culleoka. Culleoka. I'm the mayor of the unincorporated town of Culleoka. The people of Culleoka do not know this, but I am. Um, so let's go ahead and pull up our first picture there. Let's see what we have going on here.
All right.
Oh, there's my beautiful bride, Miss Kayla, and there is the last watermelon she picked out of the garden at Elm Springs. If you didn't know this, we started last year having a kitchen garden at Elm Springs like they would have had outside of the original kitchen. And all the produce that's raised there on the property we sell at the museum. And all that money goes to benefit restoration of the house or projects at the museum. And this year we've already raised close to $500 through vegetables. So that's money that we can put to great use. And watermelons are starting to come in, and that one was a 30-pound watermelon. Very impressed with that melon there. It's a Bradford melon. It's a variety that was thought to be extinct, and one of our volunteers is into heirloom seeds and found out that that's a variety that's very popular in Tennessee in the 1800s, and bought us the seeds, and they've been growing very well. And one of the things that we'll be doing this year at the garden is we'll be saving seeds this year. So next year, when it's time to plant, you can buy seeds that came from the Elm Springs produce, and you can get those through the SCV store when the time is right. So,
Ooh.
yeah, let's see what else we've got going on here. Oh yeah, this is something that these just came in last week. These are the new historic Elm Springs Hearth and Home challenge coins. Now, I bought these. There's not a Hearth and Home award for the SCV. I would like to see something like that going forward as a way to thank people who have done service to headquarters throughout the year. We've got a lot of people that come mow grass at Elm Springs. We have people that come and help at our special events that we have throughout the year. I don't really have a way to thank them other than a regular SCV commendation or uh, one of those awards that we give. I have to nominate them for these awards, but if we had a Hearth and Home award, that would be something that we could submit their names and they could be given these awards. But until that happens, I've got these coins and I can give these volunteers a Hearth and Home historic Elm Springs coin.
Well,
And
you got to see me drive up to Tennessee because I love challenge coins, and that is
well,
a
yeah, I've
beautiful
got
challenge.
one with your name on it, Moose, and I've got one for GCB. The Candyman's already got his, but I can't think of a better way to help Elm Springs than these SCV chats that we do to promote headquarters and Hearth and Home once a month. So we thank y'all for that, and we've got a coin with your name on it. Now I know many of you can't come and help at Elm Springs because life happens. You've got a job, you have things that you need to do. If you live far away from Elm Springs, you can't drive up and help all the time. I understand that. But if you would like a coin anyway, you can go through the SCV store and you can buy one of those coins for $15. So that way you can get one of those coins without helping. But if you do help, you get one for free. But yeah.
That is definitely some encouragement to go to Elm Springs and help. The museum, I mean, even if you do live far away, and if you can just spare a weekend, or if you're going to Elm Springs October 1st, if you can drive up Friday, help them, or get up early Saturday and help them set up for the GEC meeting. I mean, stuff like that goes a long way. And just going down there to spend a day if you can. I know that drive is very long for a lot of people. For me, it can be, depending on where I am in this great state of Mississippi, 4 to 8 hours. But again, if you can make the drive, try your best. It's always good to help out when anything like stuff like this, where it's us keeping this alive, especially our own museum. I'll put up the challenge again.
Yeah, those are. I thought they turned out very nice, and we had a compatriot drive all the way from Memphis last week. That's a 3-hour drive to Columbia, Tennessee. He drove 3 hours pulling his trailer and his lawnmower so he could come to cut the grass. Yeah, Jimmy Hill's talking about that right now. So this gives you an idea of what people are willing to do to help us out there at headquarters. And thank you, Carl. And whenever you're ready for a watermelon and pumpkin tutorial, just let us know. The pumpkins are coming along pretty good, and hopefully they'll be ready by the end of September. People can have them to carve jack-o'-lanterns and whatnot. But if all goes well, we don't have another drought, we might have some good pumpkins for everybody come the fall. The coins are $15, and they're already listed on the SCV store webpage. So just go to the online shop, and you can get one.
Ready for the next one? I kind of just threw it up there without talking to you about it.
Oh, that's all right. That's what's next. If you've been to the museum since we opened in October of 2020, all the division flags that were submitted were in that first section as you walk through the museum doors, so kind of the low ceiling area. And the idea from the beginning was to put those flags in the large cathedral type room in the back. So last week we rented a lift, a scissor lift, and Eric and Matt were the only two brave enough to get up in it, and they started stringing the flags up. And if you want to put the next picture up, I think it turned out very well. That's what the room looks like now, with the flags going from back to front. It starts on the back wall with the stained glass window with Alabama there on the left, and then they're in alphabetical order throughout. So we're still missing some divisions, guys. A lot of the AMV divisions, we do not have flags for you. I know Virginia's missing, South Carolina's missing. I hate to start naming names because I'm going to forget somebody. But there are several divisions in the AMV that do not have flags represented. So we'd love to have your division represented in the museum. So get those flags, get with your division commanders, and see if you can send in a division flag to be on display in that, I call it the Great Hall in the back. We do have a North Carolina flag, Michael. Yes, sir. Thank you, Forrest. I thought it turned out very good, and that's something we've been talking about for a while. It's just renting the scissor lift is expensive, and we're just trying to wait until we had all the flags that we could get before we started moving them. And it was pretty much an all-day chore to get that done. But I think it turned out great. What else we got there? I forget what I've sent in now.
You still got a good bit of stuff, and there is a good couple I want to hear the story behind.
Okay. Yeah, this is something cool right here. I'm working on a section of in the timeline. It'll be one of the last sections that goes in about popular culture and how the Confederate image, especially the flag and our generals, have been used in pop culture throughout the years. And these are some old whiskey advertisements that I came across. And it's a series of 4. This one here features General Basil Duke, I believe it's John Hunt Morgan, and General Nathan Bedford Forrest, and that's supposed to be Forrest on the right. And General Forrest is explaining to him how he got there first with the most, uh, and it all has to do with Old Crow whiskey and how all the generals enjoyed it. Now, I'm not saying they enjoyed Old Crow whiskey, but Old Crow was claiming that they did. And this ad was from, I believe, 1961. This is a series of ads that started in the 50s, ran through the mid 60s with different historical figures. But those four that we just showed were the ones that featured Confederate generals. And three of the ads had General John Hunt Morgan in them. Two of them have Basil Duke, and this is the only one that has Forrest in it, which I don't know if there was ever such a meeting as this, but I would like to have been there if there was, just to see what they were talking about.
Oh yeah, me too. While we are at the, what'd you say?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I can't remember which picture's next. What I was saying.
Well, we're kind of at a good point to do our next little break, and I guess we'll save the Pop-Tart break, I guess, for a bit later than normal.
Okay.
But I wanted to go ahead and talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
So let me send that in the chat. People are starting to bring up the fact that General Forrest did not drink. Dr. Samuel Mitchum, who, of course, wrote the great book Bust Hell Wide Open, said General Forrest did not drink.
Yeah, that's a fact with a lot of the advertisements. I know there's a Stonewall Jackson brand of cigars that was very popular post-war. General Jackson did not take a tobacco or alcohol. There was a General Lee was used as advertisement for a lot of whiskeys. He was not a drinker. It was just that's what we're trying to show is how that Confederate image was used to sell products even through the 20th century.
I'll say they still use it nowadays.
Right.
Well, it's just to try to disgrace them. And now remember, we have a lot of sponsors on the show right now. Got about 3. But please remember, Larry McClooney Jr., our past CIC, has a new great book out called In General Beauregard's Defense. Beauregard's defense reads like a court case defending General Beauregard. As we all know, in the past 100 years, or maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more, General Beauregard has gotten a lot of flack. And our past commander-in-chief thought he was being treated completely unfairly, so he made this book to, of course, defend General Beauregard. And it reads off like a court case. He's providing evidence. He's providing context to things. And it reads very smoothly, too. I am a 23-year-old, so, if it can keep me entertained, it's a good book because my generation hates reading. So it is a great, phenomenal book. On to Vicksburg is another great book. I enjoyed it. I got that book my freshman year of college, actually, all those years ago. And the Yazoo Pass Expedition, I think GCB says, I think it is one of the few books out there on the Yazoo Pass. So it is a must get for you. He also likes it, I believe, because he is mentioned in the book.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason he likes that one.
I think he pushes that. He asks me to push that one hard every time of the show because he likes that his name is mentioned in it. But without further ado, it is a phenomenal book either way. Now, you can get all these books on LarryMcClooney.com. The link is in the chat. They're very affordable, very good reads. I highly recommend each and every one of them. I've read 2 of the 3. I'm trying to save up to get the Yazoo Pass so I can read that one next. Our past commander-in-chief is an educator, so these books are full of educational things and things that if you are an educator, you can bring into your classroom like I hope to do one day. And, of course, if you are just a fellow historian or a fellow member in the SCV, you'll love them. So our sponsor today for this episode of SCV Chat is Larry McClooney Jr., and you can get his books at larrymcclooney.com.
Worth every penny.
What'd you say?
So they're worth every penny. I've read all of them except for the Yazoo Pass. I haven't read that one yet either. But
well, that one was one of his first, I think, and so it had been a couple years ago. He made Vicksburg my freshman year of college because I remember him coming up to Oxford to sell it. And I remember it was the first time I went to the University of Grace camp. And that was the first time I met, someone in a position, which he was lieutenant commander in chief at that point. It's the first time I met anybody like that. So I bought the book just being in awe, really. I was just like, hey, here you go. Sign the book. And I flew through it because at the time, again, they were trying to brainwash me. So books like that, and freshman year I had a lot more time than I did in my later years. And so, I finished the book in like a week, I think, if that. I really enjoyed it. And I highly recommend In General Beauregard's Defense. I love it. I got to read it for just doing the book review on the chat. I actually plan to actually buy one soon just so I can reread it again. Let's see here. Walter Kennedy says the Yazoo Pass was important in the defense of Vicksburg, and it's one of the best books. Well, what more promotion do you need than that from a Kennedy?
Hey,
let's be honest here.
Well, I'm going to buy it just because of that.
Yeah, I say I'll buy it again. But thank you, Adam, for letting me do a sponsor break. And we got one more sponsor for today, but we'll do that a bit later. We're going to let Adam continue on with his conversation. And the next picture up is the one I have a good question about.
All right, just some good old boys.
Mm-hmm.
Never meaning no harm. Dukes of Hazzard. Who did not grow up watching this? If you're of my generation, you did. Watching reruns, and my parents probably watched it when it first came on TV. This fits right into that pop culture that I'm talking about, the battle flag and how it was seen in the 1970s and going into the 80s. What is our next picture that we have? I can't remember. It's the movie.
Yeah, it's Life magazine, I think. But
right.
On the General Lee thing, I grew up watching that. I was blessed enough to have a great father that showed me stuff like that. I grew up watching the Dukes of Hazzard, and to this day, if I ever win the lottery, you will not. I won't brag about it, but when you see me pull up in a General Lee,
well, I see a '69 Charger in your driveway.
Okay. Yeah, you'll see. I'll buy it right then and there, and it'll be painted orange before the weekend is over.
Growing up, that was it. Dukes of Hazzard, I was a huge fan, and I have good memories of my dad coming in, and he'd see what I was watching. He'd sit down and watch an episode or two with me, and we'd just laugh. And it just goes back to how our flag has been villainized. Because the flag was about racism. It was just good old boys being rare. And
that has to be one of the best shows out there for us because I loved it. I grew up watching it with my father. After I convinced him to buy all the seasons on DVD, I showed it to my brother. We watched it together when I was in middle school. And I even watch it nowadays if I don't have anything to watch, and I just I'm one of those people I like to, and that's something common to my generation because we have so much technology in front of us. If I'm eating, I like to watch something, or if I'm relaxing, I like to have something on in the background. And a lot of times, if I have nothing specific I want to watch, I'll just turn on a random episode of Dukes of Hazzard because I still will laugh. I enjoy the episode still. That's one of those things that have aged perfectly.
Yep. Especially if you grow up in the South.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those things you still look up to them, and every boy I know from Southern Mississippi wants a General Lee.
Absolutely. So, Next, I mean, look at this advertisement from 1943. Coca-Cola used General Stonewall Jackson in one of their ads in 1943. Of course, they like to forget that Coca-Cola was created by a Confederate to begin with, uh, but they also used Stonewall Jackson in their advertising in the 1930s and again in 1943 when this advertisement was on the back of Life magazine. So this is something that's going to go in that pop culture section that I'm creating, just to show how different brands have used Confederate imagery throughout the years.
I was about to say, if you wanted to sell something in the South, just put a twist of Confederate on it, and it probably sold out.
All right.
I mean, it would speak to us. I know today, if I see something that has something pro-Confederate in it, I watch it or I support it. I mean, it speaks to me. And so even back then, you could tell why things are very different today. And that's why I love our museum. They could go back and show us stuff like this, something to relate to. Back then, that's how they sold stuff still. They took advantage of our heritage, or they were more proud of their heritage, and the company showed it. Like Coca-Cola, that was founded by a Confederate. They were probably very pro-Confederate for a very long time. Or like the whiskey that took advantage of poor General Forrest, they knew it'd sell. And it's just crazy how times have changed, but also
Mm-hmm.
crazy how some things don't. For
Right.
real Southern people, stuff like that still attracts us to certain objects.
And of course, we all remember what happened a couple of years with NASCAR and how they banned our flag from being anywhere near their races. This is an official NASCAR program. I believe it's from Martinsville in 1982. The Dogwood 500, right on the cover of the program, is the Confederate battle flag. Uh, and again, NASCAR dates back to the old moonshiners and descendants of Confederate soldiers who were out running these dirt track races and built into this multi-billion-dollar industry that it is today. And yeah, I would love to have one of those Hank Williams Jr. flags that uh, says if the South would have won, we'd have had it made. I mean, that would
Yeah,
be great for
oh,
our
it'd be awesome. I
there in that.
have a replica of the Army of Northern Virginia flag that I had to get when I was in middle school. It was, back during then, at least for me, I know that the culture was changing around that time I was in middle school to being very anti-Confederate. But where I lived, I didn't see the effects until after I graduated high school. But it was just something to take pride in. And even back then, I looked up to Robert E. Lee, and I remember I might have bugged Dad for the whole Mississippi reunion to buy me this flag, and I still have it up in my childhood home. It is still behind my bed. I still love it. Most people will remember me in high school doing projects with the battle flag behind me, and there'd be pictures of me. Yeah, it's just man, Carl, you're lucky. I have my own version of that, even if it doesn't have a great tie to Hank Jr. I'm very jealous of that one, but man, again, the stuff like that is crazy. Yeah, NASCAR didn't stop really being. They didn't really get anti-Confederate until a couple years ago, wasn't it? Like
Right.
they banned it, but before then, you'd still see them at shows, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, you would every time they would pan the camera over the I forget what they call the in ground or whatever the center section of the race is where everybody's camping. You'd see the battle flags flying, and it wasn't until recently that they had to take that away.
Yeah, that's so bad. Victor said there's a very pro Confederate show on Facebook and YouTube. It is hosted by some guy called CBV and Goose. Victor, if I start to get memes of "Talk to Me, Goose," I'm going to ban you for that. I am a very big Top Gun fan. but I get enough moose memes sent into my private messages from all the chat heads. Let's see here. Seeing if there's anything. Robert says his class high school ring had a battle flag on it. That is awesome.
That is awesome.
Carl said his didn't have Hank on it, but Carl, it's basically where you got it from that we're giving you. I mean, we would fight you over that. I'm pretty sure. Me and Adam would fight you for it.
I'm not gonna fight Carl.
No, Carl would beat us senseless, but I'm just saying.
No.
I'm not saying we would win. I'm saying we would fight. We'd get our butts handed to us.
That's right.
Fight for it.
I'll watch you.
You're going to send a poor moose that is having to broadcast from his truck to fight Carl? That's mean, man. Carl's also probably packing, so I'm good.
Next picture there, Moose. What we got?
Now, I think this is your last one. So do you want to take a Pop-Tart break and then go back to it?
Yeah, let's do that.
Want to go ahead? All right, well,
right.
Our Pop-Tart breaks are sponsored by Make Dixie Great Again and the Confederate Legion. You can join the Confederate Legion today at www.makedixieGreatAgain.org or .com. So make sure to type them in your search engine. Let me, matter of fact, let's see how bad my camera shakes. I can put this in the chat. But yes, I'm having to do this because my computer is balanced like a back door. Inside joke for Adam. I thought he would like that. All right, well, hopefully I did not spell any of that right. I didn't put the dot with the org. All right, we're just going to all right, well, I'm just going to hit the commercial break. We're just going to act like that didn't happen. All right, well, enjoy the break.
There is a place nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost, stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
Always love that commercial for obvious reasons, but also the fact that I still get chills from it. Just like all the Faces videos. I mean, I love all the Faces videos. Even if GCB won't let us play his on the Monday show, I usually play it on the Thursday show because I know there's a 50-50 chance he'll actually watch it sometimes.
But that one of Elm Springs and the museum, it never gets old. And I get chills at things, especially when it pans to our flag, that beautiful stained glass window. And
it's amazing. That part always gets me. Yeah, just like it gets you. Let's see here. Let's see. I'll throw that up there from Mr. Kennedy. Yes, I would like to see this be portrayed on national media. Someone said Leonard Skinner always had a huge Confederate battle flag on his stage behind him. That was
One
cool.
thing that I don't have for our pop culture section, of course, I don't have a lot of space either. I keep bringing all these items out, like, hey, I'm going to put this on display, but I would really have some album covers that feature.
Oh yes.
You know, there has to be some Leonard Skinner album, or I can't think of any Southern rock group.
Alabama, the
Now,
band,
Alabama,
country
I
band
know,
Alabama
yeah,
have one.
they used to have the battle flag on some of their albums. So I can't think of Molly Hatchet ever did, but a lot of those other Southern rock bands, somebody had to have had the battle flag on their album covers, and I need some of that for the museum. Just anything else you can think of that might fit into our pop culture section. I've got a cool movie poster that we'll be putting up. Uh, this one actually has an ATM flag in it, which was I thought it was. I think it's one of the movies that they've actually shown on the uh, Monuments Across Dixie Alamo City Guard movie nights. Drums in the Deep
Wow.
South. I have a movie poster from that, and it's got the ATM flag on it, and the actors in Confederate uniforms. So, and I have two frock coats, and I'm not going to tell you which movies that they're in, but they're from two pretty well-known movies, and they're going to be on display in this section too. So, the pop culture sections is something I really wanted to take on, and Jimmy's giving me a little space to work with, and hopefully we'll have a real nice section there, and it'll be something to see as you're making your way through the museum. And our timeline has really come along.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
As you're walking through the front door, we are all the way through the grand hall, and we're working our way back to the exit door now. So they're in the home stretch. To get
Yes.
thing done. And I know the Kennedy twins, they're working on reconstruction. Our Commander-in-Chief, Jason Boshears, he's working on a section on Confederate monuments. And then there will be a section about the UCV and SCV. And then we get into the pop culture section. So
A lot of people have been talking about other bands and artists that have battle flags incorporated in some way. I, as a Johnny Cash fan, am ashamed that he didn't pop up into my head until I saw the comment. Elvis, I love Elvis. He had a lot of Confederate themed stuff out there. Tennessee Ford, Confederate
Ernie Ford did a
Railroad.
album of Confederate songs. I forgot about that.
I'm about to say, so did I. Like, I listen to a lot of these people, so I don't want anybody to take my country license away. So I'll just be quiet on everybody else I kind of forgot. But I was looking through the comments. I was like, ooh, I forgot all about theirs.
Good idea, but I think I do have a copy of the Tennessee Ernie Ford Confederate album too. So
wow.
I'm glad somebody mentioned that. I can put that in there. Jimmy, maybe some more space, please.
He's in the chat too, so you should be able to get an answer. Someone said, okay, yeah, Moose. We had a high school mascot who was Rebels, and we had a crossroad that is all. We had a crossroad that is known as Rebel City, North Carolina. One of the teams that my high school still plays in football, basketball, and one that closed their doors. They had battle flags all over their campus, like these private schools in Mississippi. One closed down, one I think still has it. The last time I checked last year, their scoreboard still had like a knockoff Colonel Reb and two battle flags on it on the home side. And so that was awesome to still see those still up. Someone said you can watch most of the Dukes of Hazzard online for free. I would recommend against it because the person who owns a lot of the Dukes of Hazzard rights right now is the actor who played Crazy Cooter. Ben Jones has a lot of the rights. He's very still pro-Confederate. You also know he is a member of the SCV. He was our chief of heritage of operations for a while. So if you know Cooter's Garage and he has some stuff there too, you can buy a lot of the seasons from him. I would recommend supporting him because he is an SCV member and he still is fighting day in and day out to make sure that Dukes of Hazzard gets back on TV and that, the Dukes of Hazzard rights are taken care of and they're not, trampled upon. He shares a lot of original toys as well as new toys. He always has a General Lee at his stores. I would always, because that's where me and my father bought, which basically means my father bought all of the seasons of Dukes of Hazzard, all of our General Lee models from his stores just to support him because he is an SCV member. He has documents given to him, our certificates from the Virginia division and from SCV HQ hanging in his stores. So he is still very pro SCV. He's also about to turn 81, so make sure you show him some love, man.
Absolutely. I'll never forget the day that I got an email from Ben Jones. And I was like, what in the world? I'm actually sitting here corresponding with Crazy Cooter. For a redneck boy from Culleoka, Tennessee, I've made it in the world.
You are a lucky man. I have gotten to see most of the Dukes of Hazzard cast. I went to their a couple years back. They had a 40th year anniversary celebration for the Dukes of Hazzard. It had been 40 years since the first episode ever aired. And I was able to go there. I got to see Bo and Luke Duke. I got to take my picture with all of them. I got to see Daisy Duke. Daisy Duke told me my blue eyes are very pretty. I almost died at that point. I got to see, Nick Nabbit. I got to see most of the cast. I'm forgetting some of the other people right now. I hate to say I'm drawing a blank. But, I got to see most of the cast that's still alive and around with us. I wish I got to see Ben Jones, but he was feeling sick that day. And so he wasn't able to make it. I hope to some way find a way to meet him one day. Because I would love just to shake his hand and take a picture. But at least you got to talk to him. I'm extremely jealous of you, Adam.
But try to get him to come to our car show. And like you said, he's 81. He's not really feeling up to traveling a lot, and he doesn't travel a lot these days. So I would love to get him in one of his cars to headquarters whenever we have another one of our Rebel Rouser cruise-ins. We had a car show a few months ago, was a great success, and we had a General Lee there, but we didn't have Ben Jones there. I would love to have Crazy Cooter show up to one of those, and
if you promote that, awesome. I would be there. I would be the first person in line at the museum that day.
But yeah, we'd love to. I mean, any of the cast members of Dukes of Hazzard, if they want to come to HQ, and we'll be glad to make an event out of it. So,
if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure all the cast are still I don't think I've heard any one of them be anti-Confederate. Ben Jones has probably done the most in the past 20 years to keep the Dukes of Hazzard brand alive. And he is very pro-Confederate. If you go look through his Facebook page or the Cooter's Garage, his store's Facebook page, every once in a while you'll see Ben Jones do a video just going off on anti-Confederate views, and he'll tell you the real meaning of the Confederate battle flag, the real meaning of the General Lee car. I mean, he rips into people all the time. It is amazing. He is still a great talker at 81 years of age. It is outstanding. Again, I hope to meet him one day, but he's done a lot to defend the cause as well as secure his own legacy, which is something that you can't say about a lot of Hollywood stars. Usually they're just focused on securing their legacy. So if something like this comes out, I don't agree with it. It was just a job, man. But Ben is like, no, it was my job. I loved my job, and I also support all this. And I think right underneath him, John Snyder has stepped up in the past I would say 5 or 10 years, he has really stepped up to start defending it some more himself. He don't care either. It's hilarious. But, you know, back to, John Snyder and Ben Jones are very pro Confederate, Victor. I've met both of them, and they're both great. Or I've met John, and I remember shaking his hand. I don't think I said a word to him because I went blank, but I took a picture with him, and there's proof that I met him. But yeah, for a redneck boy like me, seeing both of the Dukes, I mean, I drew a blank. Or all three of the Dukes, I drew a blank. I was done. But getting back on topic of the museum, because I wanted to just say, if you can support Ben Jones, please go support him. He has all the seasons. He has great merchandise. I get Dukes of Hazzard hats every now and then, so go support him if you can. But back to the museum. You have 2 more pictures left that I know you want to go into, and so I'm going to let you go into those real quick.
Yeah, if you weren't at the SCV National Reunion in Cartersville, you didn't get to see the presentation of this item here. The Alabama Division Sons of Confederate Veterans purchased this item for the museum. It's a replica mountain howitzer from the Tannehill Foundry, which was active during the war between the states. And I believe it gives you more information on the next picture of how this was cast. It's one of, I believe, only 3, and it was used with ore that was actually left over from the war between the states. So it's a great item for our museum, and we are honored to have that. And things are looking up for our museum. I'm very optimistic because things are coming in daily for our museum. We're making contacts daily. And I know that we have a good historian in chief on board that's very energetic about going out and finding artifacts, Mr. Forrest Dawes. So Jimmy and I will be working on a list to give him. He's going to go out and try to find us some items. Really, if you ask me what I'm looking for right now, and I'm going to tell you uniforms. We do not have any textiles. We don't have a frock coat. We don't have hats. I'd love to see an original kepi, maybe a slouch hat. I'd love to see a frock, enlisted man's uniform. Would love to see any kind of weapon that can be attributed to a certain soldier. And we have 3-banded rifles, muskets. We have those already, but if you can give me one that's attributed to a certain soldier, that tells the story. It tells about where this gun was. My ancestor carried this to Gettysburg, and he was surrendered at Appomattox or whatever. Whatever the case is, I guess if you surrendered at Appomattox, you had to stack your arms. But if you have a weapon or something that can be attributed to a certain person, I'd love to have that type of thing. And it doesn't even have to be a weapon, just something that they carried throughout the war. We've got in our possession now a fiddle that a Confederate soldier carried with him throughout the war, and this was Appomattox. So it's a really neat item to see. It's currently on display in our museum, and there's got to be a lot more artifacts just like that out there. And we are the home for Confederate artifacts. We are the National Confederate Museum. We can't depend on anybody else to tell our story, tell our ancestor story. We have to tell it ourselves, and we have to have artifacts to do that. So between all of our membership, we have 30,000 members out there. If you go out and, everybody knows somebody that has something. Well, start working your friends. If you know that they have something, so let them know. Remember our museum in their will, or if you'd like to have it on display while they're living, you don't have to give it. You can just loan it. Yes, well, actually, we have 3 now, Ron, and we had another one come in last week. So we have 3 carpet bags that were brought down by the carpetbaggers after the war. And yes, we'd love to have some Texas relics as well. Right now, we're in Tennessee, so we're getting a lot of AOT stuff, but we'd love to have some AMV things and things from Trans Mississippi, from all over. You know, Confederacy spanned a great deal of land, as we all know, and territory. So I would love to have something from the Indian territories. That would be something to have. But, you know, seeing how far we've come in 2 years, though, I'm thrilled to death because we started with nothing. I mean, really, we started with a UCV uniform, and we built our collection around that, and a few rifles. And look at what all we've accomplished so far, and how much we're going to accomplish in the future. I'm very optimistic. As I said, I'm always a glass half full kind of person anyway. But really, things are looking up for us, and it's all because we have a great membership, and we've got a lot of support where it counts.
Yeah, the museum is ever changing too. Y'all do a great job of always updating it, and it's growing at a great rate too. I mean, just from the last time I've been there, it's changed significantly. And y'all do a lot there. Y'all have any events coming up?
Yeah, at the end of September, we're having something called the Rusty Sutler. It'll be a 2-day event. It's an antique flea market on the grounds. We'll have people selling antiques and people selling handmade items. I know we have a lady that does homemade soaps. We're going to have a homemade furniture booth as well as some antique booths as well. Right now, we haven't had that many sign up, so there's still time to sign up. Go to rustysutler.com and download the application if you're interested. We're going to look at the end of this month to see if we're going to continue with it or not. But as of now, I'm saying we're doing it until I say otherwise. But hopefully we'll have a lot more people apply for booths in the next couple of weeks, and we can continue with that event, because it's all about bringing people onto our property. We want people to come and see Elm Springs, see the museum. And we have a bus tour coming the middle of this week with 30 guests coming from out of state. And it's amazing. All these buses really come from Indiana or Illinois. We got a lot of northern folks coming in, but they are all very, once they go through our house and go to our museum, I've never heard one bad comment. And a lot of them will come out saying, you know, I hate what's going on in the world right now because that's not what this flag's about. I mean, they get it. The Yankees get it. So,
no, that's bad. Yeah. When the Yankees get it.
We're letting a minority of people scream the loudest get their way. But I'm not going to preach to the choir. Harrison, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, brother. If you have anything else you want to talk about event-wise or anything else the museum or Elm Springs is doing, go ahead and plug it, brother. That's what we're here for. We want everybody to get to know what the museum's doing and understand that the museum is doing phenomenal things.
Absolutely. Hopefully pretty soon we can report that we're going to have a Robert E. Lee statue going up on our grounds. So there'll be more about that coming up soon. And if you were at Reunion again, you got to hear us talk a little bit about that. We had a compatriot in Texas that had this statue commissioned. I think it was around $160,000 he paid to have this statue commissioned. It's a exact replica of the Robert E. Lee statue that was in Statuary Hall. And it's made out of Texas limestone. And we're building a pedestal for it right now. And hopefully it will be erected in the next couple of weeks. And we'll probably make a real big deal about unveiling that in the future. So keep your eyes open for news on that. Of course, our big historic home weekend in Elm Springs. That's the first weekend in December. Elm Springs is always a big part of that, as is our museum. So we'll have guests from all over the United States come to Columbia, Tennessee that one weekend to tour historic sites around town. So Elm Springs is glad to participate. That's about all I can think of right now. Well, we do have a concert coming up. We're doing something called Rock the Springs, and of course I can't remember the date on that right now, but I can send that to. It's September 10th, I think. September 10th. We've got a local band called Mercury Red. Some of the guys in that are SCV members, and um, if this works out great, hopefully we'll have a complete concert schedule for next year. We just want to test it out and see how attendance is and kind of work out the kinks. And then next year have a full schedule with a lot of different bands. And again, it's just all about getting people to our property and seeing what we're about.
I was about to say, and I think you've touched on this in the past, but these events, they bring in some money for the museum in Elm Springs, but it also gives the chance to expose people that normally wouldn't come to what we stand for and our beautiful museum. I mean, the museum has done leaps and bounds, and I mean, Adam can attest this a lot better than I can. But I mean, it's getting better every day, and it's something that we could all take pride in already. And it's still not where it's going to be in a couple years, or even by the end of this year. I mean, I'm really excited with what y'all doing up there.
Well, thank you. You and your father have always been a big supporter of our museum, so we appreciate y'all, and of course, appreciate the chat for supporting us. And we couldn't do anything without our membership supporting us. So I appreciate all the support from the SCV membership, and of course the GEC appreciates that as well. That's all I have, Mr. Moose.
All right, you okay answering a question we have?
Sure, be glad to.
All right, Miss Linda asked, "What is the progress on the bricks and pavers?"
Okay. We have ordered the first 2 batches of bricks, so we're waiting on those to be made. And I hate to say it, but everything's been delayed. It's taking a long time for bricks to come in and for names to be engraved. People have ordered benches as well for our property, and we call and check on the progress of those and the bricks, and we hear, it'll be 3 months, and then we call in 3 months. They say, well, it'll be another 3 months. They're just not getting the work done as fast as we can, and it's all across the board. There's a shortage of granite right now. There's a shortage of workers right now. But hopefully those will be put down as soon as we can get them in, because we've sold a great number of them. I believe we've sold close to 300-400 so far, and I'd like to see another 3,000-4,000 sold, because we've got a lot of areas that need walkways on the property, and it's a great way to honor your ancestor, a great way to have your name on something at headquarters. If you just want your name or your division, your camp represented, I believe you can download those forms under the Forms and Documents tab on scv.org. You can download that Walkways of Remembrance form and order your own brick. But yes, those have been placed on order, and once they come in, we'll be putting them in place.
Well, I cannot wait. I know that's going to be a great project. Mr. Ron Kennedy said we must advertise the museum nationally. We couldn't agree more, and I cannot wait for y'all to do that. I'm sure I will force Adam to be on the show as soon as y'all start doing that, and make him come on and talk about it. Before we exit off tonight, unless Adam has anything else he wants to talk about.
No.
Okay. I just wanted to double check. All right. Make sure to share this episode. If we're right now, we're kind of, we love our chat heads, but we also need to bring in new people to share our message and to share what we're doing here, and definitely share our museum. Let people know more about it, know how much it's growing, and of course, all the good people that are working hard for our museum. And remember, you can email scvyouthOutreach@gmail.com, and you'll be featured on this week's episode of Look Around the Confederation. We will be doing news for your camps, brigades, divisions, armies, And if you have a camp or division project you would like to talk about, please email us at scvyouthoutreach@gmail.com, and we will see you guys same Confederate time, same Confederate channel Thursday. I guess without further ado, unless someone asked, does the museum have a Facebook page? I believe y'all do.
National Confederate Museum at Historic Elm Springs.
Okay. Chris and Lee, I hope that that helps. If not, in a couple minutes you can rewind the episode and you'll be able to hear what Adam said. And I might actually, after the episode, share the museum page on our page so everybody can go support the museum, because you'll get a lot of updates that way, as well as on here. So without further ado, I guess it's time to call it a night. I'll let Adam get back to his busy life, and I'll drive to my house.
Thanks, Moose.
And thank you, Adam, for coming on. Remember, everybody, no Fumar in the elevator.
Yep.
Good night.